morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to another episode of the Double Feature Podcast. With me, as always, our amazing co-host, Danny.
He got paid 20 quid to say that.
I wish.
Oh man, but yeah, it feels like it's been longer like since we last recorded because we've
Yeah.
a lot's happened in that time. But yeah, it's good to be back recording as well. I've been looking forward to doing this one. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about in this episode. We've got our spotlight movie, Weapons, which technically is about a month old, and usually we're kind of like we don't like to do films that old. But I think with this film, because it was one that was kind of you had to go in blind, we wanted to kind of give people enough time to kind of watch this film because it's one you, especially with us talking spoilers, it's one that you couldn't get spoiled for you. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, if any episode needed a spoiler warning, it's this one. Um, but yeah, we've got that. We've got lots in part one. Obviously, we've both been away, and we've both got tales to recount. We've both got things to talk about that. And our part three, we're doing a bit of a first. We're covering a director's filmography, not an actor's or a genre. We're doing a director. We're doing Mr. Nolan. Did I say Miss Nolan? No, Mr. Nolan. There we go.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
So
very, very beefy episode today. There's gonna be a lot going on today. So kick
yeah,
us off with
so
part one.
let's crack on. So we have a return to not a particularly nice something we have to do, but it's celebrating not celebrating, but mourning the passing of a Hollywood legend. This time it is a Hollywood legend, Robert Redford, who passed away the other day as recording this at the age of 89. Acclaimed actor, particularly like the 60s and 70s, a bit of the heartthrob of his day. Appeared in like classic films like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's a cracking little Western film, that is. But also stuff like The Sting, All the President's Men. In more recent times, he was in the MCU in The Winter Soldier. He was what's his name? Alexander Pierce, the politician who like is the bad guy in that film.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, but and I think he reappeared in Endgame briefly. But yeah, that's like recent stuff that he's done. Um, but yeah, that he was always even as like a human character in that film, he was still very memorable and always gave a great performance. And but not just as an actor, but also as an industry man. He was a director as well, directed several films, and um, probably his lasting legacy will be that he was the founder of the Sundance Film Festival. Obviously, played the Sundance Kid in Butch and Sundance, and I think the early '80s he founded that, and that's a festival which has really championed a lot of like indie cinema and emerging low budget filmmakers, and the fact that he championed that for so long, I think, is fantastic. So, may rest in peace, a true Hollywood legend he is. So, do you have anything
I
that's
I
not?
can't say I've seen much of his stuff, but obviously it's always sad when
Yeah.
someone as influential as that in Hollywood passes,
Mhm.
especially if he started the whole Sundance Festival thing. I didn't know that was him. But
Yeah, it was, yeah.
you know, it's one of those things where just it's
Mhm.
unfortunate, but it gives us an opportunity to reflect on what they did.
Yeah,
Always
I really,
appreciate this part of the show for that.
and like I always really want to check out their other films. Like I do have a craving to like rewatch Butch and Sundance because that's just a really entertaining Western film with Paul Newman as well. And so but yeah, and it's just a shame that a lot of that generation are like passing. Obviously we lost Gene Hackman early this year. But there's not many actors of that sort of era left, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But but yeah, but yeah, moving on to some of the other films and things that we've seen. Where do we start? Because we've seen a lot, haven't we?
Right, where do we start? Okay.
Do you want me to start? Because I've only seen two films.
Yeah,
Shall I
you
just
go
quick fire?
first. You go first.
Okay. So in terms of like new releases, aside from Weapons, I have seen two new releases since last episode. Those are Bad Guys 2, which I think I mentioned last time that I was going to see.
Yes.
But I've seen it since, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, say it's a smidge above the original. I think
Ooh.
it kind of expands on. It's not like by much, but it kind of expands on the franchise, and it's a bit more of like a Mission Impossible, like globe-trotting adventure, which is quite cool. It kind of amps it up a little bit, and it's just really enjoyable. And I think The Bad Guys is a great new DreamWorks franchise. It's just a shame that this one bombed at the box office. Really didn't make. much of a slash. But like for animation this year, we've not had a lot aside from one which you'll mention, I know. But Bad Guys 2 is really good. And the other film I went to see was a film called Caught Stealing, which is from Darren Aronofsky. He's the guy who directed The Whale, which I know you really
Yes.
enjoyed. But he's also done obviously like Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, which films that are very like divisive, very out there, a bit surrealist, a bit kind of melodramatic in a sense. They have a very kind of dour tone, a lot of them. Caught Stealing is a bit more of like an upbeat sort of crime caper. It's quite fun, and Austin Butler's in it. Matt Smith, Doctor Who, seeing him just like swearing every 20 seconds is the funniest shit you'll ever see. Like I had to like full on just have to stop myself from laughing because I'm so used to him as Doctor Who that to see him like with a mohawk and being like, "Oh, you fucking twat!" It just. I don't know why it's just so funny to me, but it is. But yeah, it's a really enjoyable like little crime caper in like 90s New York. It's very fun, and yeah, I would recommend. And I think if you're not as familiar with his work, I think it's probably a good gateway to it because I hadn't seen any of his stuff, but you had.
Yeah, I mean, I'd only seen The Whale. I don't think I've seen any of
Mhm.
his other stuff, but I watched The Whale mostly because it was like Brendan Fraser's comeback film, and
Yeah,
it was
his
very
Oscar
good.
winning. Yeah, yeah. I think Caught Stealing is very different from the Whale. I think the Whale is more in line, based on just what I know about it, is more in line with what he does typically, whereas Caught Stealing is very different from his usual state.
Hmm.
Um, but those are the only two films I've seen. What have you seen?
I've seen a good amount.
Right, quick fire. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's quick fire the lesser interesting ones. In preparation for Halloween Horror Nights, I watched the Terrifier trilogy. See my little Art the Clown here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I got the Halloween Horror Nights shirt, but we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah.
Terrifier trilogy. This was a tough watch, I won't lie. Even for
Mhm.
someone who's likes gory movies like Saw, the way I liked Saw, like Terrifier is another level. Terrifier is gore for the sake of it. I'm hard pressed to say it even has a good story to go with it. Number one's probably the
Mhm.
most coherent story wise, and it's really simple. The later ones just get very weird. The gore is intensely difficult to watch in the third movie. Art the Clown has a lot of really great aspects. Very expressful. I really like how expressionate he is as a character. For me, if he was a slightly less sadistic, maybe I'd put him
Mhm.
as one of the all-timers. But a
Yeah.
little too sadistic even for my taste here. So,
Yeah. We
however,
because we did have we
he's a
did
great character at Horror Nights. He's very fun when he's slightly
yeah.
less killing. But you
When he's
know,
not murdering you, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Because we had it because I've only seen the first Terrifier and I find them interesting because like I appreciate what their place in kind of cinema is like these kind of almost like very trashy kind of bad taste films. I appreciate them existing, but I recognize they're not everyone's cup of tea. And I don't think they're great. The first one is a very generic, very low budget slasher.
yeah.
Great gore effects, great practical effects, and Art the Clown is a really cool character. I just wish the stories backed him up better. At least
There
for the
is
first one. I can't really comment on the sequels.
there
Yeah.
is definitely way more story in the next two, and the next two actually act more like it's a franchise, whereas the first one's quite standalone. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Because
necessarily say the story's good. But there's more story there.
because isn't in two and three there's a recurring character,
Yes,
female, what's her name? Yeah.
Sienna.
I know, yeah, that's it, yeah. She appears in two and three, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's like the main pro tag for two and three, and I'm guessing four as well, which is coming out next
Probably.
Halloween.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's like the final girl of like those
yeah.
films, kind
I
of,
would
yeah.
be interested if you watch the next two, what your thoughts are on them, because they are quite different from the first one. I will say that. But
Yeah,
the third one in particular is a very hard watch.
yeah, I remember, the thing is, I remember it coming out, because we talked about it when, I think it was around when Joker came out.
Yeah,
Because
Terrifier 3
I think
outdid Joker at the box office. It was really
yeah,
funny.
biggest joke of them all, yeah. But because I remember that coming out, and I remember a friend of mine at uni who's big into horror, her mentioning that and whatnot. And I just think it's very interesting what these films represent. These like very low budget independent films that can spark this interest, and these even if it's like maybe for the wrong reasons, they spark a genuine interest in like this.
Hmm.
There's like shocking content in them. I think there's something interesting there. So I would be interested to actually watch them properly.
Yeah, let me know if you do, because I think there'll be some interesting discussion there.
We will do.
The next
But
film
yeah,
on my
what else?
movie list is Nobody 2. Uh, The first Nobody didn't do well to begin with, it was a couple of years ago, but ended up
I mean,
kind
it
of
was during
picking up a
COVID,
lot
wasn't it?
on ended up picking up a lot of steam on streaming services, and now they've done a sequel. It's the one where Saul Goodman kills a bunch of people. Bad time to swig a drink,
Robert,
but okay.
but worse, yeah, terrible. Yeah, yeah. I know what nobody is. I've just not seen
Yeah.
them yet.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. Second movie, quite similar to the first one, a lot of similar plot beats, but maybe I enjoyed it slightly more. I don't know, very similar, very consistent series, but quite fun.
Pretty good.
Next, I watched the new Naked Gun film, and I can't remember if I mentioned it last episode, if I'd seen it yet, or if that's now.
I don't know.
I don't
I've
think I
slept since
mentioned it
then.
last episode, but yeah. So I watched the new Naked Gun film, and guess what? It's actually really funny. It's actually really good.
Su-
There aren't that
Surprise,
many of
surprise.
these like dumb comedies
Pure,
anymore.
just pure
Pure
comedies.
comedy.
Yeah,
Like we talked about it like a bunch of episodes back. We did a part
yeah,
three that was just pure comedy. This is
yeah.
it. This is what I mean. This is hilarious. This
Yeah.
is really good
I'm
stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Even though I like having different kinds of films, I appreciate again Naked Gun like this. It's full on comedy. It's not trying to have a point. It's just being silly and daft. And yeah, I didn't see it, but I appreciate it being there.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's so fun. I
yeah,
would recommend watching it once you can when it's on like streaming or
yeah.
whatever. But
Because I did watch the original Naked Gun actually a few weeks
mm.
ago.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta say, as an Elvis fan, it's really weird seeing Priscilla as Leslie Nielsen's co-star in that. That fucking threw me. I was like, eh? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
yeah, that really threw me.
I've seen all of the Naked Guns now. I've seen all of them
Mm,
quite recently, and
mm.
they're all really fun films. They're good just to put something lighthearted and just
Yeah,
easy to laugh at on. But
yeah, they're just fun.
next one on the list is one that I said I'd watch a few episodes ago, and I only just got round to between last episode and this one. I finally watched Heads of State, the John Cena and Idris Elba Prime Original movie. And you
I
know
haven't
what?
watched it yet.
It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. It plays off a lot of the same kind of chemistry that Elba and Cena had in the Suicide Squad as Bloodsport and Peacemaker. It takes a bit to get going. Once it gets going, their chemistry clicks, and it's a really fun time. Next on my list, on the plane out to Florida, I watched Wicked
So
because
did I, but I'll get to that in a bit.
yeah, I watched Wicked. But yeah, I think part two of Wicked is a likely spotlight. Uh,
I'm so looking forward to it, man.
next on my list, I watched a movie this morning, so this was a real last minute throw in. I saw I saw a movie on Netflix this morning, and I just thought I'm gonna throw it in because it came out at some point this year. I just don't know when it dropped. Are you okay there? Bro's gone mute.
Brother got out of bed and was just like, hey, let's just yeah.
Look, I crawled out of bed on my second sick day off of work because I am not well at the moment. And decided to put a film on while doing some video editing. And I thought, oh, okay, well, here's a film. It dropped at some point this year. I don't know when, but it's something about it just drew me to it. And it's not my usual style of film.
Okay.
It's a Korean animated sci-fi rom-com. It's called Lost in Starlight. And it's about a girl who was training to be an astronaut, falls in love with a guy right before launching off to Mars. And it was just, I don't know why, something about it just kind of reached out to me, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And it ended up being really nice. Really, it was just a lovely film. Because
I don't think I've heard of this one.
I don't watch many anime or films or whatever.
Yeah.
But
In that kind of like East, like sort of Eastern kind of animated
yeah,
films. Like
yeah.
Studio Ghibli, you haven't seen, have you?
No, but I
Yeah.
watched this this morning and I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm glad I watched this. This was quite a nice little film. Definitely would recommend.
Yeah. Looks pretty good.
Last,
I've not heard of that one.
yeah, I guess it kind of flew
Mm.
under the radar. It really, because again, it released at some point this year on Netflix. I just don't really know when. Um, the last film I want to talk about is one that released this year. I don't really remember when this one dropped either, but it dropped out of nowhere and just became like the biggest thing ever. And I'm talking about K-pop Demon Hunters of all things.
This is
I can't
where
believe I'm talking about this. And what I can't
this
believe
is
more
kind.
is that I watched it yesterday for the second time.
Wait, did you?
I
You
watched it
rewatched
yesterday.
it?
Yeah, genuinely, it's
You
good. It's actually good. I'm not even kidding.
no, no. The thing is, I believe it's. I need to watch it. I was gonna watch it today. I just didn't have time. But like, I was going to. But and obviously you said that you'd watched it, and I was like, okay, fair enough. I didn't know you were gonna rewatch it. Like, you're the last person that I would have expected to get a lot out of this film.
That's what most people would think, but okay, so for a bit of context, my coworker really likes K-pop, and sometimes when the boss is at the office, we listen to music. Some of my music comes on, some of hers comes on. And yeah, K-pop's pretty decent. She told me that one day she was upset and went home and watched K-pop Demon Hunters because it sounded like a shit post title. It doesn't sound like a serious movie. And then she ended up saying it was really amazing. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then we got to a point where just before I went on holiday, I'm pretty sure my boss doesn't watch this podcast. My boss went on holiday. And so I said to my coworker,
My mum.
bring in your laptop and let's watch K-pop Demon Hunters at work. It was
That's something.
genuine. It was genuinely so good. I cannot explain. I can't
I,
explain why it's good, but it just is.
I do. I really do want to watch it. I really do. I by next episode I will have watched it. But like, yeah, it has taken a bit of. It's taken the world by storm. This has.
I
This
mean,
is kind
the
of
songs
mental.
are charting. The songs are dead
This is.
ass charting.
It's kind of bonkers. This is.
And the thing is, this was Sony Animations, and apparently they shipped it off to Netflix because they didn't believe in it as a project. This is the same company that put out the Emoji Movie. What are you on? But
Yeah, like aside from like yeah, aside I'm not even funny. Aside from like Spider-Verse, Mitchell's, and a couple others, like Sony Animation is kind of ass.
for me personally, I've looked through the whole of Sony Animation's list yesterday, and for me personally, this is the best thing they've put out. It's
I
genuinely
mean,
so good.
you know that obviously I know you're not as big on the Spider-Verse movies, but as I am especially, but like I will genuinely give this a watch because this is like this is interesting.
It's
This is
it's an interesting
genuinely
phenomenon.
how is yeah, that's the thing. How is this? Yeah, no, I will watch it. Yeah,
I mean, visually, it's amazing. The songs, bangers. Everything about it is just, it works, and I don't know why. And I'm really confused why it's so good that I watched it twice. I don't know. You just have to
bro's having a
watch it
fucking
to see.
he's having a fucking existential crisis here.
I didn't think that one of the best movies I watched this year was gonna be was gonna be K-pop Demon Hunters. I didn't think I was going to watch this movie, let alone think it was as good as it was. But genuinely, and I cannot explain how weird this is, considering the movies I usually watch.
Yeah, what
Why
the fuck?
why is this up here for me? Why is it up
I don't
here?
know.
It's
I
it's
don't know.
unfathomable.
I don't know. Yeah. Can I ask a question actually? If we had spotlighted this, where would it rank?
Oh God. Oh God,
Like with
top
all the
three, I
things, all the
think.
films,
A top three, I
three.
think.
Oh my God, that's
Dead
insane.
ass. I wish I was joking. I think the only thing that might beat it for me is Sonic 3.
And Deadpool? Wait, even better than Deadpool.
Maybe. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Maybe, man.
Bro's had a fucking bro's had a revelation here. I don't know. Do
Ah,
we move on before you completely collapse in on yourself?
I don't know what to think. I didn't think this
What?
movie would be what it is. I've been
Oh man,
baffled by it since I first watched it.
you
And
genuinely just can't.
now there's just times where we're at work and like boss will go out and we're just like we're feeling kind of shit and we'll just put the soundtrack on.
I love that. I love that. I
Nothing
love
picks
that.
nothing picks the day up like a little you're my soda pop, my little soda pop. Now that just brings it up. I don't get that the songs are good.
You know what I'm now picturing? You know what I'm now picturing?
No.
You know the Patrick Bateman meme of him walking in the office with the headphones on. I just imagine that's you going to work with the K-pop soundtrack on.
Pretty much.
This is oh man.
It's surreal. It's surreal. Anyway, I
Right,
think we're done with
right. Should we?
movies. I think we're done with
Yeah, we've got a bit of a
movies.
special. Yeah, before he completely kills over and dies, because this is insane. But we've got some other things that we've also watched that are kind of current-ish. So let's talk about that. Who first?
After you. I need to
Oh, okay,
recover
okay.
from
So
whatever the hell that was.
yeah, he needs to like calm down. He's getting on. He's getting on. So I.
Bastard.
Oh man. Right. Okay. Okay. Calm down. So we both went on separate holidays over the summer, and I went for the weekend to London. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I saw two shows that are kind of relevant. One of them is relevant to a film that we are covering on the podcast. Another one is just like a recent musical that's had its run ended. So I'll talk about the first. So I say this is the first one. This is the last one I watched over the weekend, but it was the recent Great Gatsby musical. And yeah, I've got the programs for them. But yeah, obviously based on the book by Scott Fitzgerald. A very recent musical. Its run in London it's recently closed the other week, but we caught it just in time. And yeah, it was really good. As somebody who had to study Gatsby for English lit, um, it was a book that I used to hate, but now the story of it has really grown on me, and a lot of the ideas of it have really grown on me. And this is probably my favorite version of it. Like I didn't really care for the book. I really didn't like the film with Leo DiCaprio, but this musical I think was solid. Obviously the choreography, the dance numbers, the musical numbers, they were all really good. But I think in the second half, when in the second act, sorry, when the tensions in the story rise and kind of builds and builds and builds and some of the dramatic twists and turns, I think the way that it's executed on stage is really good, it's really clever, and you really feel the weight of them, which is what you need to feel. So this is probably my favorite version of Gatsby. And we also went to the stage door for the show, and we met. I don't know if you can see on camera. I don't know if you can see, but I got it signed
Oh
by
yeah.
Corbin Blue, and he played Nick. But he was also in the High School Musical films as Chad. And I am not kidding you. I didn't realize who it was until afterwards because we got photos with him at the stage door, and I genuinely didn't realize. I was just like, "Oh, you did really good," because he was a really good singer, really good actor, really good in the show as Nick. But I didn't realize who it was and why everyone was going nuts for him because he always does stage door apparently. And it was only after when we sent the photos to our group chat, one of our friends who wasn't in London was like, "Oh, it's so cool you met Chad," and I was like, "Who's he?" I just felt like such a fucking idiot afterwards. Um, but yeah, and but the second show, this is the first show we watched, but the other show, which is probably more relevant to the podcast because it's a film that I've been obsessed with. I finally watched Wicked on stage. Finally.
Lovely.
And I absolutely fucking adored it. Like my friend who was with she was having more fun watching me watch the show because of my reactions to it instead of just watching the show. But it was just like it was amazing and like not only that, like it's amazing. I love the show. It's a show that I really have a lot of passionate feelings towards in terms of like the story and the plot. I think it's a great plot and just it's to me really interesting. But I also now stand by my opinions on the film more because the main critique a lot of people have about the film, at least the first one, is that it's too long. I
Yeah.
was always the opinion of like,
Yeah.
for me, right? I was always the opinion of like I understand why people think that, but because I enjoyed the world and characters that much, I don't mind it. I actually stand by that more after seeing the show because that's the only thing. It kind of whizzes past, pun intended. It kind of whizzes through a lot of the plot beats, and I think the film, being as long as it is, I think is important because it needs that time to breathe. He's just gone.
Whizzes past.
I couldn't not do it. I couldn't not.
You
But no,
clever,
I
clever fella.
but for God's sake, yeah, I genuinely do stand by my opinion of the film being that long. I think is good because it gives it that time to breathe, which you don't quite get with the show, just by its nature as a stage show. But yeah, like overall, like it's fucking great. It's wicked in it. It's like it's just Defying Gravity was like just seeing that live, hearing that live is just oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So would recommend.
Glad you and your friend enjoyed that. uh,
Go fuck yourself.
oh, the escalation. Anyway, yeah, I found that I thought the movie was a little long for me. I think the ratio to dialogue and singing might have been too much singing for me as well. But I
It is a
really,
musical.
yeah, but there's layers of how of there's like there was a lot of it going on in there. I did think it was very nice visually. Loved the film visually.
Mm.
I really enjoyed kind of the third act of the film. Really, once they started going to Oz, and
Yeah.
that
I
last
love
act
I
has
love
sold it to me enough that I want to watch part two.
Yeah, and it can be very interesting because part two, a lot they cram in a lot in part two. There's a lot of twists and turns, and I think again, the extent if part two is as long as the part one, I think it's probably warranted because that's the main flaw is that in the second act there's a few things that just don't really have a lot of weight or don't really make a lot of sense, and I think a bit more runtime will give it that breathing room just to have that impact. So that could be something, but yeah, Act One and Act Two are very separate. Like there is a time skip in between, so they are quite separate. So it's a yeah. I think splitting them. I do genuinely think for me. I get what people are saying about the length, but I personally just think it works. It's right for me, just in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. But I'm definitely up for watching part two. It could be one we both go to the cinema to watch.
Maybe,
Could
yeah.
be.
I'm not wearing green face thing.
We're not committing green face. I'm waiting for you to drink before I make you laugh.
You twat.
I'm waiting
You
for right
actual.
after you put it in there to make you laugh.
Right. Okay. I'm not drinking now. That's probably a good way if you are a drinker to stop drinking.
Bloody hell.
Anyway, talk about Universal and Florida and shit. Talk about
All right, let's see what I could fit into the 10 minutes we got left here. We are.
that. Okay.
I just got back last Saturday, 6 days ago, from Florida, which I went out to for 18 days. During this time, I got to explore a lot of fun things, including Universal's new theme park, Epic Universe. Really wonderful. Seeing like Super Nintendo World come to life, seeing the Isle of Berk come to life. It was just such cool
Yeah.
things.
You sent me the Isle of Berk
Yeah.
as well, didn't you?
It was such a amazing experience. I just had to go back for a second day just to explore. And so I did, and that was lovely. But the main reason I went, besides the Epic Universe, was Halloween Horror Nights this year with its completely stacked lineup of IPs. I've got the shirt on, so I could walk you through it. First of all, we got a house called Jason Universe, based on Jason Voorhees. They couldn't get the rights to Friday the 13th, so it's just Jason. It's every Jason in like a gauntlet haunted house of just Jasons. It's intense. We've got Terrifier, hence I discussed earlier,
Yeah.
watch the
Art the
movies.
Clown.
Art the Clown's very funny at Halloween Horror Nights. He just casually goes around riding a tricycle in a
Honks
Santa
you. And
outfit,
honks you.
honking his horn, uh, interacting with the guests. He's very fun. Half of the jump scares in Terrifier House are just art being funny. But however, the Terrifier House did have two endings: a dry ending with the most painful strobe lights I've ever seen,
Oh.
and wet ending.
Uh,
Yes, Art the Clown gets you wet. Let that sink in.
Perfect.
Okay, it's just a long
Perfect.
corridor of just dripping water. It's a bit boring, but when you get out on the
That
other
makes it
side,
look.
you get like the true ending of the house. You get the good ending, uh,
Oh.
which is basically the ending of Terrifier 2.
Oh,
Um,
right. Oh, okay.
Additionally, if I tilt the camera down a little more, we can see more of the shirt. Here we go, we got more of it. So we got the ghoul from
Freddy.
Fallout,
Oh, yeah.
the Fallout TV show. This
Hmm.
show was obviously on Prime. It's got season two coming soon. The house, great set pieces recreating the vault and the junkyard settings throughout and everything. Very empty in terms of actors. Definitely an underwhelming one,
Ah,
unfortunately. Next we got
you've heard it. You heard it there, Universal. Freddy,
Freddy Fazbear.
not
Ho,
Freddy,
ho, ho,
not
ho.
not, not Freddy, not Freddy Krueger, not Freddy Krueger, not
No,
that one.
Freddy FNAF Bear. And I kid you not, the second time I went in this house, I was the very first person in. To understand how amazing this feat is, the queues were often upwards of 3 hours constantly. And I was the first one in. And I ran like hell to get there, but oh,
All
the
right,
FNAF
flock of
house was
seagulls.
amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It wasn't scary, but the animatronics in there are incredible. And the sets that they recreated were just as amazing.
It's very like it was like quite like an immersive
Yeah,
sort of
you walked
sort
into
of
a
experience.
facade of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and you had Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica on stage, moving, performing, and everything. Oh, the animatronics were insane how good they were.
You've got to get your Five Guys at Freddy's crew over there. Do a live episode.
We'll have to drug bomb on B.A. Baraka style to get him over there because he can't fly.
To be fair, I can't fly. I can't fly a plane myself.
Nah, he can't do car journeys, let alone boats or planes or shit. So, you know. But once
All
Universal
right,
comes to the
helicopter.
UK, once Universal comes to the UK, we
Yeah,
might do Halloween Horror
that's the
Nights
thing.
here.
You've got to do that. You've got to do that.
And the final one, and I can't believe that this was the best house, but I really loved it. Let's tilt it down again. This guy here is the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. He was an old WWE wrestler until he passed away a couple of years ago. And a new stable formed in his wake called the Wyatt Six, led by his brother. And they did a house based on the works of Bray Wyatt and the new stable. And it's really good. It's constantly got the shortest wait times. I guess a lot of people are skeptical about a WWE themed haunted house, but it works
Yeah.
really well. The costumes are great. The recreation of their debut on the WWE stage is really cool. Basically, in their debut, they kind of just slaughtered half of the backstage.
Oh wow.
I mean, they will fine the next week, but it was a really nice, cool cinematic thing, and they recreated that like perfectly. They had lots of cool little Easter eggs. It was a house that I felt you could do so many times and get more details out of.
Hmm.
Really great overall, great tribute to the guy, great representation of the new stable and everything. So the houses were really cool this year. They had some really cool original ones as well. Obviously, they do ones that aren't based on intellectual property. The highlight was one called El Artista, a Spanish haunting. And it's about an 18th century artist who goes to a mansion to paint, but all of his artwork starts coming to life and trying to possess him. It's really cool sets, really cool costumes, really cool innovative jump scares and whatever. A gargoyle on a zip line kind of just flying overhead. It's kind of cool. Lots of really cool stuff in here. There's another one, Grave of Flesh, where you look up in like one of the first rooms, you just see like your open grave, and it's really
Oh,
freaky. And then
delightful.
it starts with just like monsters trying to eat your flesh, and then by the end, it's like some Lovecraftian type stuff. Really insane. So
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
really solid year this year. I might send you the link of the all 10 houses walkthrough so you can kind of get a feel of what the
Yeah,
event's like. But it's really cool.
definitely put some like visuals on here because this is like these whatever you've
Oh
got
yeah, yeah.
like
I'll put in like little
oh
clips and
yeah,
images and
because it sounds
whatever.
great.
But yeah, really
Yeah.
cool stuff. And I somehow managed to
Brilliant.
fit it in our time slot. So hey,
Brilliant.
wrapping up Halloween on time.
Just
Yeah.
one more little thing, and I will be quick, I promise. But I just want to pick up on it's a film that you spotlighted in the classic movie section a bit ago that finally got around to watching. Literally as I got back from London, Tropic Thunder, obviously Tom Cruise
Oh,
segment,
Tropic
and we did
Thunder.
that. I just want to quickly mention that I'd watched it finally. Tom Cruise character Les Grossman, he was awesome. He was very funny, and the film was very funny. I don't think it's perfect, not because of any of the dated stuff, because I think the satire is very clever. I think it's more the plot. I think they meander about a bit, but I think the premise is genius. I just wish they'd used it a bit better. So it's like a 7 out of 10 movie. I think it's good and some amazing moments, but I think as a whole package could have been better. But I just wanted to mention that I'd seen that
I
now.
mean, yeah,
So
perfectly fair uh review of it
mhm.
actually. It's not perfect,
Yeah,
but I'm glad that you've spotted it's for the plot things rather than just being dated or whatever, because that's where most people's
yeah,
criticism would go.
yeah.
But
I wanted to watch it for that to see how you could do edgy comedy like that in a tasteful way that is kind of that works. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, um, I managed to get that down.
great. So I guess we're on to part two now, which is going to be about weapons. Join us after this brief
Let's go.
commercial break. These aren't real movies. What's next?
They're not. I suppose like stereotype in my head, the metal is just like all like fucking screaming and sweating, just like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
So that's an amazing setup. This is all inside one sound stage, but they
And
weapons.
now, weapons. Our spotlight for this month. Where the hell do we start? Actually, I know where to start. Even though we said it at the beginning of the episode. Spoilers. If you've not seen this film, and
Yes.
we genuinely mean it, go away, or at least go to the part three that we haven't recorded as of yet. But go watch that because you don't want
Timestamps
this
in the
spoiled.
description below,
That's right.
or
But
use
yeah,
the
so
chapters
weapons,
function. Either
do that.
works.
Either way, skip it if you ain't seen the movie. So, Weapons is a new horror thriller film. It's an original film, which we love around here. And yeah, basically the marketing of this film was basically just good word of mouth. Really, that's how I kind of heard about it.
Yeah, it was just a kind of cryptic trailer that just told you the basics of some kids have gone missing from a classroom except for one at 2:17 a.m. on a random morning. And that's pretty much all
Yeah,
you get to know. And that is
that's
also
the
it's
premise.
reiterated at the very beginning of the film. So it
Yeah,
hasn't spoiled anything for during the film. That is literally the start of the film. It's
it's
just
just
the
the
trailer.
premise, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what
So
trailers should be. It should just give you a
yeah,
premise without
exactly.
giving away too much, especially when it's a mystery movie like this.
Yeah. And that's what I loved. I think the experience of watching this unfold was amazing. I loved it. And I feel like I keep saying this with the recent films that we cover, but this is, I think, again, this has topped my, this is, of all the Spotlight movies that we've done, this has again topped it. So it's
God
the previous
damn.
winner. So for me, I think the previous winner was 28 years later. This has topped it.
Now I got an important question though. If we had spotlighted Sinners, this or Sinners?
I will tell you this, my gut reaction coming out of the cinema, I preferred this to Sinners, but sitting on it, I do prefer Sinners now. I think over
Okay.
like I think I let it sit, and I do prefer Sinners, but it's not by much.
Okay, very close.
Weapons is not far behind
It's a
Sinners.
good year for original horror.
Yeah, I think we're not just this year but last year, like Substance, Nosferatu, some
Oh
great.
yeah.
I think we're in a really great kind of era for horror movies where they're really they're just really, a lot of them have been really thought provoking. Even the ones that we didn't like Wolfman or Romulus. There's been some great discussions that we've had, and I've just really enjoyed a lot of what they've brought to the table.
The real
You know,
horror was watching Joker 2.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, let's get back onto weapons for a sec.
yeah,
So I really
yeah.
like the structure of this movie. I like the way
Yes,
that it has like I think it has seven different chapters and
chapters.
they all
Yeah,
follow a
it's
different
very
character. And they're not always characters you think would be worth giving a whole chapter to, but
yeah,
they're all really interconnected. They play out nicely. Each one starts to reveal a bit more, and then we go back a bit to the next character, and then it reveals
yeah.
a bit something else. I love that aspect of it.
It's very much like it's like the Rashomon effect. Basically, like just a quick film history. Like Rashomon, it's an old 50s Kurosawa samurai film that basically explores an event in the film, but from multiple different perspectives, and it obviously shows kind of like you know unreliable narrators and whatnot, and how things can be perceived differently by different people, and the kind of different different perspectives, different chapters. That's very like that. It's very Pulp Fiction-esque because that Tarantino does that in Pulp Fiction, where you see the different events from the different characters' perspectives. And I just find that such. I mean, it's a great structure and it's a great way to tell your story and letting it unfold in that way. But it also reveals so much about the psyche of these characters, and I just think it's fascinating. I really do, because ultimately that's what it is. I think that's one of the main, really interesting things. Obviously, the premise, as I said, all this class of children disappear except this one kid. You don't really. I mean, you obviously you see it in the opening, but it's not really the main event. What the film really focuses on is the reaction from this town. You know, the teacher played by Julia Garner, which this is the third Julia Garner film we've spotlighted because Wolfman, Fantastic Four, and
Ah, yeah,
this.
Wolfman. Yeah.
Yeah. But she plays the teacher of this class and everyone kind of points the finger at her. And it's like, she is just as clueless and she's like, what do I do here? You've got Josh Brolin who plays the father of one of the kids. Um and you see him, as an angry parent, but also how much he misses his son. You see all these different perspectives. You see that there's the cop I can't remember the names. I'm crap with names, but the one that Alden Ehrenreich plays. What's his name? I'm getting letterbox. Paul. The cop. Why are they just generic names? Fucking hell. Yeah, but yeah, it's like he gets entangled with the drug dealer character, and just I think just the sort of snowball effect of all these people from this town getting wrapped up in this mystery. I just think that's really compelling stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, one of my favorite parts of it was, again, I'm not good with the names either, but the character that Josh Brolin plays, his chapter was really
Archer.
interesting to me.
Archer. Yeah,
Archer,
I loved.
because I
Yeah.
love how it starts with him, like, instantly blaming the teacher whose class has gone missing.
Mhm.
And being like, oh, well, it's got to be the teacher. And he's just, like, constantly trying to follow her and trying to see what's going wrong.
Yeah.
Until he sees, and I can't remember what his name was either, but Wong from the MCU starts.
Benedict Wong's character, yeah.
Yeah,
Marcus,
Wong
that's his name.
starts running down with his arms open and with his bulgy eyes starts
Yeah. You're like,
attacking
what the
her, and he's
hell?
like, "Oh, okay, what the hell? This is something else." And then
And
he
then it
kind of
gets revealed
realizes maybe
and
it's
then
not her.
yeah, but then it gets revealed in his chapter what the hell that was and whatnot. Um,
Yeah,
I've got to say something actually that kind of you mentioned like Josh Brolin's chapter. There's some great stuff in that, like the dream logic. A lot of the dream kind of surreal imagery was kind of weird. Like the bit when he sees the gun floating in the air, that was really kind of like weird stuff. But I really enjoyed it. But I think my main sort of like takeaway from this film, like thematically, that I found really interesting. I mentioned it briefly, like the psychology of these characters, but it almost feels like how this event it regresses them, reverses them to a childlike state. Because ironically, Gladys, who's like the auntie of the one lad, she does that thing where she regresses them with that kind of spell and that potion. Like she does it to Marcus, and obviously that's when they get the bulging eyes, and it's when they're possessed and they're regressed to a more primitive state.
yeah,
But a lot of the characters in the film already have that just from this event of the kids disappearing. They do kind of revert back to a more childlike state. You see Justin, who's the teacher Julian Garner plays, the way she's shot throughout the film and the way she's acted, she almost does feel like a kid at school getting bullied. Like, they have a lot of shots like from the back of her head and that follow her. And it's almost like you're kind of stalking her and she feels more vulnerable. And she does feel like even though she's a teacher, a person you think is usually on authority, she does kind of come across a bit more timid and a bit more like kind of retracting into her shell in a manner of speaking. And I even see that with Paul the cop, even though he's a cop, somebody who should be reserved and have authority, he lashes out, in a kind of childish way to the drug dealer guy whose name I forgot. And then the other character with Archer, Josh Brolin's character, there's the part where he's sleeping in his son's bed because he's lost him. That it's almost like that's his sort of way of coping is to cling on to what is left of his son, and he wishes he'd said he'd loved him and whatnot. Um, and that again that brought me to something because I say he wished that he'd been more open and said that he loved him and whatnot, and you just infer from that he's not raised his son particularly well, which you can tell in a flashback where he's picking up where his son's picking on Alex, and it's just making that connection. It's really fucking smart stuff, but it's not telling you this stuff. But the amount of stuff that I picked up on this, I really enjoyed seeing it unfold like that, and that's what I took away from it.
yeah. It's a very interesting movie. I like a lot of the
That's probably a
like
lot here.
the tones in it. I think I don't know if it's too early to talk about the ending, but the ending contrasted to like the rest of the movie. The ending is kind of hilarious, to be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah.
compared
No,
to
it is.
how
Honestly,
intense that the first part of the movie was. Like at
yeah.
points it was scary, at points it was like gripping, at points it was like almost
Tragic. Quite, there's like
introspective.
there's a tragic element to a lot
Yeah,
of it
and then you get to
that
this
makes you.
ending that's just so funny.
Yeah, no, it
It's
is.
just
I
so
think.
funny and
I think.
weirdly feel good.
I think there is an intent. It's ultimately seen like the monster get their comeuppance through their own like means, because obviously they Alex uses the spell to turn everybody against her, and it's basically using her trick against her, and it is that the classic the bad guy gets their
Yeah.
comeuppance in a kind of ironic way. A lot of like James Bond villains have that where their sort of gimmick or their gadget will ultimately be what defeats them and whatnot. It's a bit like that, and there's always like a humor to that, and I think it's just a funny image of just seeing this old lady just like run about and
Yeah,
just getting
from like a horde
killed by a
of
bunch of
kids.
kids. Yeah, it is quite funny. But yeah, actually, you mentioned the ending though. There was something with that because the final two shots, because the final shot is of Archer holding his kid in his arms and carrying him home. And I love that you get a shot from the kid, like showing the kid's face, and you get a shot of Archer's face. And I love how that parallels the opening of the film, where you're seeing just the back of their heads. It's almost like with that shot and with this mystery kind of unraveled and solved, there's that clarity because you can now see their faces, and it's just like a element of cinematography that I thought maybe meant something. But yeah, that's what I took from it.
Yeah, I remember the ending feeling a little bit abrupt as well, like the very end. Like,
I will give it, yeah,
yeah, but at the same time, I don't really know what more they could have gone off from there. But I just remember
yeah.
it feeling very abrupt. And I was like, oh, that's it.
I do, I will give you that. I think that's right. But I think so long as you can keep those final two shots, I'm kind of happy with it. I think they just before that, just a little, maybe a bit more than just some narration. I think could have just a little bit.
Yeah, I
But
think it was the narration
yeah,
that made it feel blunt at the ending, that made
yeah,
it feel like really
maybe.
sudden.
But that's like only a fraction of the film
Oh
because
yeah.
overall like, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, really solid film overall.
Yeah.
Personally, I think I enjoyed this more than Sinners because
Oh,
I like this one like the whole way through. Whereas as when we
yeah.
discussed Sinners, the first half and the second half were differently weighted to me. Whereas in this one,
Mhm.
the whole thing is like the same level. I prefer the kind of
I
the
can,
consistency of that for me. For me
I
personally.
can. Yeah, I
But
mean, you enjoyed both of them, didn't you?
oh yeah, yeah, I enjoyed both, but like
Mhm.
we're talking narrow increments here between the two.
Yeah.
But for me, I slightly prefer weapons more because it was consistently like the same level of interest being held for me and the same
I,
level
I,
of quality for me.
I can understand that. I think because I say when I came out of the cinema, I was my gut reaction was weapons I preferred, but it's with like letting time sit. I think again, Sinners still, I still think about it. It's still left an impression on me, and that's why. And honestly, I really enjoyed the first half more than most. I think because I enjoyed that film all the way through, but for like different reasons. Um, but as I understand, both kind of points of view. Um, but I think this film, you've funny mentioned Sinners actually. It kind of does a similar thing because obviously Sinners, a vampire movie, classic age-old horror kind of trope, but adds something different and adds something a bit more thoughtful and kind of adds some interesting thematic commentary with that. Weapons does the same, but with like witchcraft, because obviously
Yeah,
Gladys, she's like the witch, and it's using that kind of classic, as say, horror, folk kind of folk horror, putting it in a modern kind of context and saying something with that. And that's what I think I've found with a lot of recent horror films is that, whether it's 28 years later with like zombie films, whether it's The Substance,
yeah, with body
a
horror,
lot
you know.
body horror with The Substance, yeah.
Just a shame that
Nosferatu,
Wolfman couldn't quite reinvent the werewolf genre quite as well as the others have.
no,
But it did give us some new things. It gave us some
but
new
even
kind
then, like,
of
and the thing is, even though Wolfman didn't quite live up to its potential, it had that potential there because even if execution wasn't the best, there was still something there that we had. I just wish they'd explored it more
yeah,
because I think
like even
there's
all
some,
this time later, I still remember like the way they did that kind of like werewolf vision kind of thing. That
yeah,
was like a
yeah.
really kind of cool next level thing. But I feel like that
And
one
I
did
meant,
not tap into the
mhm,
reinvention as well as the other movies of this year and last
yeah.
half.
I think if you remember, when we talked about Wolfman, I talked about the whole thing of like the themes of like parenthood.
Yeah.
If you remember when we talked about that, that was kind of more what I was on about, like how it's adding that it's saying something with a classic horror trope or a horror kind of
Mm.
monster or
Instead of
character.
just being the trope.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think Weapons is a really clever, really interesting thriller. It was really engaging. I love the structure of it. The gore as well, when they are possessed, and there's some nasty, gnarly kind of looking
Yeah.
effects with that. It was really effective. And some really effective scares. Some great, not like shit your pants scary. It's not like jump scares and whatnot, but there are like these unsettling images and like the kind of surreal stuff. I said the gun in the sky. That's something that's going to stay with me forever. Like that's such a weird
Yeah.
image, but it's brilliant, you know. And yeah, I was really, really impressed with this film, and actually going into it blind was perfect
Oh yeah,
because I
you
didn't.
can't go into it knowing what's going to happen, otherwise you will not get the enjoyment out of it.
God no,
But
God no.
it's interesting now what the next thing that's going to be reinvented is. What's the next horror trope is going to be? Will they finally make a good shark movie? Will they might finally make a good shark horror movie after so much
That
time?
exists. That exists. Jaws.
Yeah, but since then, have we really had
Yeah,
any
true.
good ones since then?
Probably not. It's been 50 years since Jaws came out.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see like if they made a good mummy movie again, something like that. You could do something new with that. Maybe
Hmm.
they'll reinvent well, the classic
I
monsters
mean,
are there.
I, I just remembered. Soon, I think in November or December, Guillermo del Toro is doing a Frankenstein remake.
Oh yes,
I just remember that it's coming to Netflix. I think like November time this year.
Netflix. That
But
might be
yeah,
that should be an easy one to watch, and that could be a possibility.
yeah, maybe, yeah, and
Because
yeah,
we were
but
pretty
that
dry
because
last November with
yeah,
spotlights.
but like Del Toro, he's very much about like reinventing classic stories and fairy tale tropes. You know, seeing him tackle a horror movie like that, a classic horror story like Frankenstein, that's got to be something. You know,
Well, I mean, seeing him take on the age-old trope of giant robots and aliens in the absolute masterpiece of Pacific Rim was it was
and
any indication. But
and of course, taking on the age old adage of human and fish shagging in the shape of water. That won him an Oscar.
and I think I heard his new
But
Pinocchio was
yeah,
pretty good as well.
it was, and that's the thing. Even though it's not a horror movie, it was a great reinvention of taking that classic story, but also twisting it and saying something a bit different with its kind of themes of don't lie and telling the truth and whatnot. And he set it in like fascist Italy, and it's like actually sometimes the truth is manipulated by fascists like Mussolini. And it's
Yeah.
just like stuff like that. So like here's Frankenstein. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turns out.
Yeah, that could be an
Um,
interesting one. But back to
yeah,
weapons
but
for one moment. Let's get a final score ranking on this movie.
yeah,
What are you going
let's do
for? You
it.
go first.
I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10. And
Ooh.
as I said earlier, it is my favorite of the spotlights. I feel like I do keep saying that, but this is my favorite
Well, let's make
of
let's make the
spotlight
next
films we've covered.
spotlight really bad then, so that it doesn't get repetitive.
Yeah, War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds of Ice
I
Cube. How
Ice
did we not
Cube's War of
talk
the Worlds.
about this? Oh
I
man,
don't know because I haven't watched it. That's why.
damn. I just love it like
Yeah,
how nonchalant his reaction is to his son dying, and then
and
he's
the
just saying
aliens
"damn"
taking
over
over.
anything else.
Yeah.
And then
Anyway,
there's like
what's your
one
score on
scene where
weapon?
he's just reading. You could tell he's just like reading a script of like what's going on. He's just like the aliens have attacked this database and so yada yada. God damn, it
Hang
looks
on.
so bad.
Pretend this is the script for a moment. The aliens are attacking the word. I mean, the world.
I'm pretty sure at one point one of the characters actually says it's a war of the worlds.
Oh, kill 'em. I want to be shot.
First
I
we
want to be
mine,
shot.
then we craft. Let's Minecraft kind of energy.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. What's your score for weapon before I kill everything?
It's a war Ice Cube out of 10.
It's an
Nah,
ice
what
cube out
happened
of
to Ice
water.
Cube, man? What happened to Ice Cube? He didn't need the money, bro. He
What's
didn't
your
need the
score
money.
for weapon? Stop
My
getting
score for
sidetracked by War of the
weapons.
Worlds.
My score for weapons. Solid 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10.
Oh, I that was higher than I was expecting to be fair, but I'm glad. I'm really
Solid
glad
8
you
out
enjoyed
of
it though.
10 fair here.
Where's it rank amongst the others, by the way?
Goddamn. It's not Sonic 3 or Deadpool or Wolverine for me or anything. But I think we're looking at a top five here. I'd have to refresh
Fair.
myself on the spotlights, but I'm a little too mentally fried today to remember all of them because
Yeah,
I'm a bit unwell
K-pop
today.
fucked your brain
Oh,
up.
K-pop Demon Hunters, no, that nah. It's because I'm ill. It's because I'm
Uh,
ill.
yeah, fair. Yeah. But that was our take on weapons. We hope you enjoyed it and hope you didn't get spoiled by it.
Yes, if you really stayed this long through the bit and are now complaining about spoilers, reflect on your decisions, my friends.
And you don't get a refund.
You don't get a refund. Instead, I offer you to watch War of the Worlds free on Amazon
I
Prime.
don't I should say a public statement. I don't condone that disgraceful behavior of actually wanting to watch World Wars. I don't condone this.
You know what? I'm not even
I
gonna
do
watch it.
probably not.
I've seen some bad movies, but I fear this may be the worst of all of them.
This could be.
I
This could
love
be. I
how
mean,
I love how hilariously self-aware the tagline is for the movie. It's worse than you think. It's the most self-aware tagline I've ever heard.
it's warning you. Yeah, yeah. This is
It
bad.
literally comes with a warning.
It's a trigger. It's literally a trigger warning.
Trigger warning. This movie sucks ass. Damn.
Oh my God.
God damn. My
Okay.
coworker and I have
Okay.
joked about putting a picture of Ice Cube in the movie up on our wall just for the fun of it. So they're
Do it.
like,
Please do.
so we just got
Please
him
do
there
it.
like,
Please.
damn.
Please do it. Please do it.
Dude, look at this dude's
This-
face.
What about on Letterboxd? It's just the same photo as well as the poster and the photo are the same.
My face after watching War of the Worlds 2025. Camera moved. What are you doing?
Wait, it's not.
Bro, I can see my reflection in the phone. I mean, you just gotta take your glasses off every 5 minutes and just be like,
Yes.
damn.
Yeah, man's reflecting on your life choices here. Um,
I see my reflection in
oh,
Ice Cube.
in an ice cube. Oh man.
Are we done with
Right.
part two? Is
I
part
think
two
we are.
over?
Are we still recording? What the hell's going on?
We're still recording. It's because I'm ill. We're
Okay.
getting a crack house episode because I'm ill.
Yeah. I didn't think weapons would be a crack episode, but here we are.
Sonic 3 and Nick Cage made sense as a crack episode.
This
Minecraft made
doesn't.
sense as a crack episode. What the hell happened with weapons?
Have you taken like any like medicine or tablets? Are you smacked off your tits on like
No, I've had like two paracetamols like almost 5 hours ago.
you smacked off your tits on fucking paracetamol?
I snorted it.
Yeah. You've crunched it up and just
Look out your window in 1 hour. You're gonna see me running with my arms out like weapons, running directly for your house. If you don't like this video, I will hunt you down running weapons style to your door.
he's gonna start seeing guns in the sky. Can we cut? Can we cut? Because this is just going.
Lock
This is
your
go.
doors at 2:17, gang.
This is
Lock your doors at 2:17 a.m. If you
this has
don't
gone
like and
far enough.
subscribe.
This has gone far enough now.
The camera's going again. Cut the video. Damn.
Wait, hang on. These glasses. Oh, I just broke my glasses. You always gonna do that. I just fucking snapped them then. How did that happen?
Hulk smash puny glasses.
But they're not getting. Well, they're not. I'm wanging them. What the hell? Okay, let's just crack on
My
before I end up
honest
destroying my
reaction.
shit. Okay,
We cooked.
okay, let's.
We're cooked. Part three,
How?
chat. Part three.
Okay. Part three, we're going to be covering some Christopher Nolan movies. So we decided on doing this because we've talked about it in a few. Obviously, Nolan's got the Odyssey coming up, which we've been talking about when we got some like news. You know, trailer came out and whatnot. We've talked about it. And you've mentioned that because you mentioned before that you haven't really explored like director filmographies. I as much as I have particularly because you like historically you've tended to look at filmographies of like actors, for example, like Nick Cage, for example.
Yes.
Um, whereas
I think
directors, when we've like, asked you on Q&As and whatnot, it's not really been a kind of like an area that you've as explored, but recently you've been getting into Nolan films
yes.
and
Although
exploring
I
his
am
filmography.
still I'm still proud of my 100% film watching of the guy who did Pig and Quiet Place Day One because that was the only films he's done. But
So good you can't even remember his name.
I think it's like Michael Sarnowski or something.
I don't know.
Sounds like it.
But because
But
I said like I've done because I've explored like a lot of the right filmographies and I've done a few rankings like Wes Anderson,
yeah.
Tarantino, Edgar Wright, etc. But I think Nolan is a really good director to sort of get into the work of, because he's a kind of obviously what he's still very much active now. I think he's arguably going into like a new renaissance. Obviously, Oppenheimer won in Best Picture, finally. But he's of like modern filmmakers, I think he's probably the best we have in terms of somebody who is making great films that are commercially successful, that are critically successful, that have a lot of like deeper meaning in them and interesting for like you've seen it to analyze and whatnot, but also pushing the medium forward. He's like a very big advocate for physical media, for IMAX in particular. Like he was a consultant on Sinners because that was shot in IMAX. So he's really, he really is kind of trying to push the boat forward with what film can do, which I think is really important because it kind of feels like I can't really think of anybody else who is doing that, to be honest, at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's one person that's like I consistently hear good things about his movies, and I thought,
Yeah,
well, this is a good start to go with. If he's
yeah.
possibly in contention as being one of the best directors of our time, you know, what a
I'd
place to
say he
start.
is. And I think because obviously like he's done big sort of like studio films. Obviously he did the Dark Knight trilogy. Adapting superheroes to the big screen in a kind of serious way that was very much to him. But he's also done sci-fi films. He's done historical films. He's done weirder experimental films. He's done a lot. And we wanted to talk about talk about three of his films. So I'm really interested to hear what you've got to pick.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. I would like to go first, if that's all right,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
because
I
sorry,
think you know one of mine though, and I think we're not gonna have another Tom Cruise situation. I think we're good.
hopefully not. I
I
mean, I've
think
got
we're
a few
good.
backups though, because I can just pull out like I'm not pulling out
Yeah, I
Tom
don't have
Cruise. Arse,
backups.
fair enough.
I have a
But
singular backup.
but yeah, but the first film I'm going to talk about is funny enough his first film, Following, which is from 1998. So this is his debut feature. Now, this film isn't like spectacular. Like, it's a fairly simple, because basically it's about this writer, like aspiring writer, who follows people throughout the streets of London to get ideas. And he ends up and it's through that curiosity that he ends up getting involved into a web of mystery and thievery, and kind of gets involved in this kind of crime scenes and whatnot. It's not like a stellar film or anything. Like, it is fairly standard, but I think you can tell it's a Nolan film from the word go, and its production and how it got made and how Nolan from this point managed to make a film with very little resources, but was still smart in the writing, in the structure of the film, in how he used visual elements to get these ideas across. So it's not just a simple film because there are, he's because he plays around with like time and non-linear storytelling. That's in this film. You've got that in this film, and he shows it through like visual cues of like you might hear a character talking about um mention an object and then later on you see that object, or there's one part where you see the main character, he's got like a glove stuffed in his mouth to, like gag him and whatnot, and then later on in the film you see the fight scene where a man stuffs the glove in his mouth. You see the context of that and how he got to that point, and it's using like visual cues to communicate this even on a very low budget, but he still does it. And speaking of budget, I want you to guess, how much money do you think was spent on this film? What do you think the budget was for this film? Just have a guess.
Could I get what year it was again?
It was 1998.
98, okay. 8 million?
Sorry?
8 million?
8 million. 6 grand.
Bloody hell, 6 grand.
That's Yeah, obviously bear in mind inflation nowadays, but yeah, at the time, 6 grand that this was
Jeez,
made on.
that's
And that
budget.
yeah, that's like ridiculously low budget for a
That is
film. That's
insane.
like yeah, but like I just like hearing some of the production stuff of this film, like for example, they shot this over the span of a year from 96 to 97, and they shot it all on weekends because that's when obviously all the cast and crew had full-time jobs, like 95 jobs, so they
Yeah.
could only shoot on weekends. And it's just like, you don't think about that when you're like, oh, you want to make your first film. But that's pretty how you start. Or stuff like in film, there's like a police officer character, like a chief police chief character, who is played by Nolan's uncle. He just got his uncle to be in the film as a supporting character. And I think he used a lot of the equipment from the university that he'd been to, and like a lot, that's the thing. And also as well, it's in black and white as well. The reason for it is because it was shot on, I think, 16 millimeter film, which is very cheap film, especially at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. As a film, it's not amazing, but I respect it a lot as like a low budget film. I think it's got some good elements to it that he would expand upon later on in his career. But I think it's the production of this film, and I love how from the word go, Nolan was still smart as a filmmaker. You know, he was clever and how to use his resources efficiently. And it's only 70 minutes, so it's a good an easy watch, like a quick watch. But I think if you are an aspiring filmmaker, I think it's always good to look at the early works of filmmakers, especially someone like Nolan, how he started. And I think that's just to get a feel of how you practically make a film. I think that's what I value so much about following.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sounds like. I mean,
Yeah.
6,000 is to make a movie off 6,000 bucks that is good going.
Yeah. Like nowadays, that probably just cover like transport and food.
Yeah,
Like unironically, that probably would.
yeah, you wouldn't be able to pay any actors with that money.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You might end like there might be times where you just have to just kind of do it for free. If you
Yeah,
have that. Yeah, it's for the love of creating, and if you have that story to tell, tell it. You
and
know,
plus he's made the money back on that in spades ever
fucking
since.
fucking has he fucking has,
Yeah,
mate.
it paid
He,
off.
I mean, I wouldn't worry about. I mean, I wouldn't worry. Yeah, I think he's doing all right. He's doing all right.
He's probably just about getting by.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing
He
all
lives
right.
a
But
humble middle wage life, raking in those Oppenheimer bucks.
yeah, he's
But
he's doing he's getting his gains this 2 Oscars. Yeah, he literally did that at the Oscars when he literally said, "I'm going to do my workouts at these."
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
man.
so but yeah, that's so because I say that's not a very well-known film nowadays. Like not many people have seen Following, but I'd recommend it. I think it is on Sky Cinema, so if you want to check it
Okay,
out, go for it. But yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's just to get a feel of like low-budget filmmaking. But
cool.
yeah, what's your first pick?
My first one, you've actually mentioned it already. It's kind of a very obvious Nolan choice, but from the limited amount I've watched of Nolan films, I
Mhm.
wanted to discuss it because it is phenomenal. Most people will likely have seen it by now if they wanted to. I'm talking about The Dark Knight, the
Yeah,
middle one of the
yeah.
trilogy. We all know
The
why
weird,
it's incredible though, but
yeah, we do. The weird thing is, this is the only one of the trilogy I've seen, and I've had this weird phenomenon, right, where I have learned through films that I'm watching with my friend and whatnot. It turns out there's so many trilogies that I've not seen the second film for. Hat Train Dragon hadn't seen the second film. Madagascar hadn't seen the second film. There's another trilogy that I hadn't seen the second film for that I've forgotten about.
oh, so many.
There's a lot, but Dark Knight, yeah, it's mainly because Heath Ledger's Joker. I was like, I want to watch it for that, and
Oh
he is
yeah.
genuinely, he is one of the best film villains I've ever seen. I know it can be obvious to kind of go, oh, Dark Knight's overrated. It's like, no, there is a reason why it's
Yeah,
so
there's a
good.
reason it's in like the top 10 on IMDb. There is a reason
Yeah,
Heath Ledger won an Oscar for this. There is a
yeah,
reason it's regarded as highly as it is because it is that good.
it's amazing. Like it shows that you can take superhero films and comic book characters seriously and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there are the extents where sometimes you go too far with like some of Zack
yeah,
Snyder's stuff. But
yeah,
like,
I think Batman is a character who is already kind of in a grounded world. He's not got like outlandish powers and whatnot, so you can kind of treat him
yeah.
with that seriousness and
And
whatnot.
Batman,
And why not?
typically in
Sorry,
movies, Batman works better when it's the more grounded, gritty version than when it's the campy
yeah,
version. I mean, I love the 60s
yeah,
one, but like We know
That wouldn't
Forever and
work in a
Batman
modern.
and Robin didn't do much for people.
That wouldn't work in like that kind of context. And
Yeah, but when
I think you
Batman
look at
gets
it, it's like,
serious, Batman works.
yeah, it does. Yeah, I think having that, it's really great. I think it's a very thought-provoking film. A lot of like the stuff it has a morality of like, who's right, because obviously there's the thing of like the boats, and it's like,
We learn
the
about that in
boat of criminals and
economics.
the fact. Did
We
you
learn about
actually?
that as
Yeah,
game theory. Yeah.
yeah.
The
But it's like
concept
stuff like
of like
that.
these two boats can either sink each other, get through it both together, or end up one surviving, one doesn't. That's game theory. So we watched that clip
But
in
it's
economics class. But
but it's just an interesting philosophy and that and
yeah.
whatnot. The stuff with Harvey Dent, Two-Face,
Yes.
is fantastic. I keep coming back to the Joker, but it's just amazing.
Oh
His
God,
kind of
he is though. He
chaotic.
so is.
It's the chaos. It's how genuinely scary he is. He genuinely did. He's genuinely intimidating. His kind of philosophy, like just pure chaos and whatnot, and just like pure randomness. They're
Like
on a. It's like some men just want to watch the world burn. There's no reason. There's no reasoning with this guy. It's just chaos because it can, and he pushes all these characters to their limits, and it actually does have that impact. It really does.
that there's a reason when people like countless people make these videos and articles about who the best movie villain of all time is. There's a
Yeah,
reason the top one is always like either Darth Vader or the Joker from specifically from Dark Knight. Like if you talk
yeah.
Mount Rushmore film villains, the Joker will always be on there from the Dark
Oh
Knight
yeah,
because he was
and I love the
that
fact.
good.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you know, he's got that iconic status as well, especially with how Ledger passed away during kind of this film and making it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
But
shame he
it's
didn't get to see like just
Mhm.
how popular his rendition of the Joker became.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost like the
it's
definitive Joker at this point.
yeah, pretty basically, yeah. But it's just a brilliant, like the opening scene in the bank when he takes the
Oh
mask
yeah.
off and he's like, yeah. And mate, we had to study that like literally in our film lecture. That was one of the first scenes we actually studied in terms of how to, looking at like breaking down cinematography, editing, sound, all that sort of stuff. Everybody knows that scene. It's amazing. And one thing I love about The Dark Knight, it's because to me the two best Batman films are The Dark Knight and Matt Reeves' Batman, from 2022.
Yeah.
The reason they work so well, I think, is I remember it was Nolan saying something like you have to sort of look it outwards. You can't just dig from within. You obviously you take some inspiration from the comics, and you might look at certain storylines from the comics and whatnot. But with Dark Knight, for example, Nolan took inspiration from films like Heat and other kind of like police procedural thrillers and whatnot. Other like the sort of Michael Mann sort of films like that kind of stuff. And it's having that outside influence on your work. That's what makes it different. That's what makes it stand out. And that's the great, yeah, that's what really works about it.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted to bring up The Dark Knight, not to tell you what The Dark Knight's about and why it's good, but
Yeah.
so that we could just kind
Gosh
of
about it.
gush about how good it is. Because
Yeah.
we're a film podcast. Why are we not discussing one of the greatest films of all time? I didn't want to
Definitely
bring
the
it up
21st century.
in I didn't want to bring it up in like the superhero episode because there were so many other opportunities to give that to.
I
I was a lot
think,
more
I
limited
think in,
here on my choices, and I
yeah.
thought, yeah, let's talk about Dark Knight. Why not talk
But
about
also,
Dark
but
Knight?
also, I think in the context of Nolan's career, the fact that because I think nowadays, as we've talked about, we can kind of look down on superhero films as being just like very commercial and just kind of you know there's too many of them, the market's oversaturated. This shows why superhero films have value, and they really can when done right. That's the key thing, when they're done right.
And I think what else is good about it is this isn't part of like the wider universe of the DCU.
Yeah,
It's its own thing. And
yeah.
to be fair, you don't need to see Batman Begins to go into
You
The Dark
don't.
Knight.
Exactly. I mean, point proven. I didn't. You can watch it as its own standalone thing. You don't need all
I
this
mean,
backstory of like who's who. It
it's
works.
like if you were to watch The Dark Knight Rises, you probably should watch Dark Knight first. But
Yeah.
Dark Knight you can watch on its own. And I know
Yeah.
people who don't even like superhero movies that much, but really like Dark Knight because it is that good. It almost
Yeah.
transcends the genre in a way.
It kind of, yeah, definitely does. And it was actually this, I actually say as well, how influential it was and whatnot. It was, I think, this film, because it didn't get a Best Picture nomination when a lot of people think it should have done, that it was actually this film that made the Academy extend their pool of nominees from 5 films to 10. So you could have films like Dark Knight win. And funny enough, Nolan's next film, Inception, got a Best Picture nom when it released a couple of years after that.
Seriously, though,
But yeah,
what
Dark.
got a Best Nomination Picture nominee instead of Dark Knight that year? That
Uh,
How did Dark Knight not get nominated? That's ridiculous.
yeah, I don't know. And Wally, I think it was Dark Knight and Wally that didn't. That were like they should have got nominated, but because they were like a superhero film and an animated film, they're a bit pruny. So it's like, but no, they are great films.
Yeah.
Period.
Anyway, let's
But yeah,
flip back to your second one now. Yeah,
yeah,
I think you went first. So your second one.
yeah. I did. Yeah. So my second one, I'm going again to early Nolan, but this is kind of the film now that I would say really sort of where he kind of broke through into the industry, and that's his second film, Memento, which has become a bit of a cult favorite for a lot of
It's
people.
on
And
my
I did
watch
tell you about,
list. It's on my watch
yeah, I did
list.
tell you
Yeah.
because I've watched this again because I rewatched this the other night to prepare for this because I'd seen it a couple of years ago. But yeah, this was yeah his second film, and it's about character Leonard Shelby, Guy Pearce plays him, who suffers from short-term memory loss after an incident where his wife was killed and he was injured and left him with this injury where he can't make new memories, basically. So he's very unreliable in that sense. But the film is told in reverse order,
Oh,
and that's the
okay.
main thing. So as we've
That's
obviously
very
discussed, like
Nolan
Nolan,
then, based on the first
yeah,
film.
yeah, Nolan plays around with like the chronology of his films, and I think this is the one that does it best because it's not just a gimmick, and it actually kind of ties to Weapons as well. Telling the story in a different way. But I think Memento is a great example of how to do it because it's not just there for the sake of it. It's there to reflect how Leonard is, as a character, because this is how he sees the world. This is because he can't make these new memories, so it's kind of having to go back and whatnot. And it's just these sort of chunks of his time. And then in between, you've got like these black and white segments, which are him in his hotel room that kind of are are linear, and they all and like near the end, the black and white segments and the color kind of meet in the middle, and you kind of get to like the present, I guess. It's a bit convoluted when I explain it, but it makes sense when you watch it and
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, it's just a really, I mean, that's it. The story structure is the main appeal for the film, and it really is effective. But it's just a really solid crime thriller, and that way of telling the story is a great way. It's a great experience to see it unravel. Um, and there is it's just a really interesting film, and seeing all the characters around Lenny and it's really interesting. You've got what's his name? Joe Patanelli is what's he been in? Anyway, he's been in a bunch of things, but he's like Teddy, who's sort of, he's like his best. I said best mate. Well, you have to find out if he is. That's the thing. That's the thing. Like Leonard can't remember who he actually is, so he's having to live off these like photographs, like Polaroids, which is kind of like quite famous imagery. But then you've got so many of the characters that he meets, and it's like who actually are they? Can you fully trust them? And it's just
Mm.
seeing that unfold of and whatnot. Um, but you do care for Leonard as a character, and it's like not in like the traditional kind of emotional way, like in sort of like you're very upset because he's a very tragic character. His wife's dead, and he can't make new memories. He can't really function anymore as a person, and that is a tragic element. But the film, the way it is, you don't necessarily feel like sad. You're not like crying your eyes out. At least I wasn't. But there is a kind of melancholy underneath. But you more so feel of how broken he is as a person. You kind of feel that it's an unconventional feeling towards like sympathizing with the character, but I just think it's really interesting and really kind of yeah, it's really experimental stuff, and I really appreciate it, and it's just a fantastic film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
definitely
the
need to
fact
get
that
around to it.
yeah,
It's on my
yeah,
list. But
yeah, I think definitely give it a. I think obviously watch it. I think it's one that would probably warrant a rewatch, as most Nolan films probably do, to be fair. Um, but Memento especially because it can be a bit convoluted. I think if you're not fully kind of switched on, but it is really engaging and like as was like with Weapons, really engaging how it's done.
yeah.
And but the fact that this wouldn't even crack my top five of Nolan speaks volumes of how amazing his filmography is. Because I'd give this like a 9 out of 10 probably, and that's I say there's like five other his films that I
Yeah.
prefer. Yeah. But yeah, that's my discussion on Memento. What are you thinking? What's your
My
next film?
second one. This is an
Let's see what
interesting
you got.
one. I've chosen to be a bit weird about it because I considered rewatching it because it's a movie I watched Not when it first came out, but once it hit like homes, I watched it. So quite a
Wait a
while ago.
minute.
I watched
Is
it
this?
as a kid, and I didn't rewatch it because I wanted to pull on what I remember from it from that long ago.
Oh
I
no.
want to talk.
Hmm.
You're worrying. I want to talk about Interstellar.
Okay, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I see. I probed you for clues, and I asked you if you. I said, "Oh, you're gonna do Tenet, Dark Knight, and Interstellar." It was to say that you weren't doing them, so I could do them.
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
doing
Okay.
Tenet though.
Okay.
I'm not doing Tenet, but
Neither am
yeah,
I. Don't worry.
Interstellar. I a part of me really wanted to rewatch it because it has been so long, but I didn't
Mhm.
because I don't want to talk about what the movie's about. Because again, I just want to talk about what I remember of it and why it stuck with me. So this movie is a relatively old movie in terms of my lifespan. Like we'll be looking
How
like
is 24? How is 2014 old now?
to me it is. Yeah,
That's 11 years.
I was
How is
10
that?
or
Doesn't make that
11.
doesn't. Yeah, I was like 8.
Yeah, but so
Fuck, man.
so I was quite young when that came out, and I remember watching it at home, and I just remember being so visually taken with it. That's the
It's one
main
of
thing
the
I
best.
remember
It's
from it.
one of the best looking films in. I'd maybe argue it's actually the best looking film of the 21st century.
It's like I hadn't at that age I hadn't seen anything quite like that in terms of visuals. And I remember the story being really interesting. So from what I remember, a group of astronauts they go to space, they're trying to look for a new planet to I think for like humanity to live on or something. There's a lot of interesting things with like time dilation again and like how like he
Yeah,
comes back to Earth later and like the aging is different and everything. I found that
yeah.
quite interesting as a
Because
concept.
it's like because it's like on Miller's planet, the water planet. It's like
Yeah.
isn't it like oh what was it? It's like 1 hour on that planet is like 7 years for Earth or
Yeah, the
something.
time, like, even in,
Stuff like
like,
that.
yeah, any planet in the world you go to, the time is different compared to on Earth. And so
Uh,
you age differently. And then obviously when
yeah,
you're in space with
and
no gravity, you age differently as well.
but also, but I think obviously because he's using that because I think he got I think is it Kip Thorne who's like a renowned scientist. He got him as like a scientific advisor on this film because he wanted it to be have that scientific accuracy, which is commendable. I
Yeah,
think
it's good.
to have a sci-fi film and to have a sci-fi film in this day and age to have a bit of that real world science in there is great. But you can't just have that. You've got to have emotion. And fuck me, does this film have emotion? Because the bit when Cooper, Matthew McConaughey's character, he gets the video logs of his kids all grown up like his age, and he's just missed out on all of that, and he just breaks down. That fucking gets me every time. And
It's interesting.
it's an infamous scene for a lot of people, and like in kind of like I think a lot of people, yeah, I think it's a really kind of iconic scene in modern cinema, I would say.
It's interesting because, like, without going too deep into one of our deeper conversations again, like, when I was that age, when I was younger, I was not very in touch with emotion. But I still remember
Mhm.
feeling a lot from this movie.
Yeah,
I don't remember all the. I'm not it's like I'm having a memento thing here, but I don't remember all of the memories of what actually happens in the films. But I remember the visual and I remember the
you
feelings,
feel it, yeah, yeah,
and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Not because I want to say this is what happens, this is why it's good, but because it
it
has
stuck with
stuck
you.
with me. 11 years later,
That's
uh,
incredible. Haven't we? Haven't I've
it's
always said
insane.
it. I would take a film that stuck with me any day because I watched quite a lot of Nolan films back in like 2022 because that's when I started really getting into films and whatnot.
Yeah,
And I watched quite a few Nolans and I watched Interstellar, and for a time that was my favorite. Inception has now taken over, but Interstellar's like both of those like 10 out of 10s for me because Interstellar is incredible, genuinely incredible
it
stuff.
is. I
I
really
love it.
do
I
need
love
to
it.
rewatch it because 11 years is far too long.
Mhm.
And like I said, I don't remember most of it. But I wanted to
Yeah,
bring it
it'd be
up because
really.
I could have just
Yeah,
gone for Dark Knight Rises because I know that movie. But I was already talking
that's
about
one of the
Dark
only two I
Knight,
haven't seen.
and it's just like I wanted to bring this up because I want to do something a little different here. Because when a movie can
Mhm.
make you remember visuals and have those feelings after that long, and to get through to a kid like me when I was that age, I just think there's got
Yeah,
to be something unbelievable about the movie. And so I'm really
there's some
looking
merit in that.
forward to watching it again so I could see how I
Yeah,
feel about it now that I'm older and I understand these complex emotions. I'll be able to remember the story. But instead,
I
I
think it's
watched a
really
different movie yesterday. So
fair enough.
But
I think no, I think there's a lot to I think there's a lot to that. I think yeah, so I think there's a lot to how the film stuck with you. And I think looking at this film, it to me, I would say Interstellar is a bit of a modern classic. I would say it's kind of and
yeah,
you can't always tell at the time when a film is going to be a classic. It's just tricky to tell because obviously you need to give it time. But 11 years, the amount of people that I've spoken to in real life, whether they're in a film space, whether they're not, the amount of people who've cited Interstellar as their favorite movie, it's a lot. A lot of
yeah.
people have.
I'm pretty
And the amount of
sure it
people
was.
it connects with, it's incredible.
I'm pretty sure it was my first Nolan film because I didn't watch the Batman trilogy when they
Hmm.
came out. I watched them
Yeah.
later on. I'm pretty sure it's the first Nolan film I watched, and
Hmm.
even though I don't remember much, I always say, "Oh yeah, Interstellar was great." I remember that one was
Yeah.
good.
I
I
love
don't remember much about
it's
it, but I remember
amazing.
it was really good, so I
You
really
just
do
it
want to
stuck
watch
with
it
you, yeah.
again now.
Because I
I'm
was
gonna
probably at
wait
the
a bit
time a bit
until
too young
like
for it.
I'm gonna wait a bit until I'm like not ill, so I can fully focus on it. But I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to watching it again now.
Yeah. That's yeah. Because I would have probably been a bit too young to watch Interstellar when it came out first,
Mm,
but watching it, like it's just again, it's one of the films that's just stuck with you. It really has.
yeah.
Um,
Anyway, back over to your final pick. And I know it's
and it's
not the
quite
same
funny.
because you know what my final pick is, so I know we're on
Yeah,
different
yeah,
grounds.
yeah. But it's quite funny that you mentioned Interstellar because my final film is the next film that he did in 2017, Dunkirk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to go for some of the less, not obvious, but some of the ones that are a bit under the radar. Like I know Memento's a bit of a classic, but like following a bit under the radar. Dunkirk is, I think, as well. Like I don't, for me, it's not really his best films, but I still really like it. But because I remember this coming out, I didn't watch it at the time, but I do remember this coming out. And I remember it, a bit of an awards darling. It got on Best Picture nom, and obviously what it's like a war movie, so the Academy loves that shit. Um,
Yeah.
but honestly, it's one of those Nolan films that has kind of not made that same cultural boom as like The Dark Knight, Inception, Interstellar, Oppenheimer. Obviously that was a film that I think is going to be a modern classic. And even Tenet, as divisive as it was, I think people still talk about that more than they do Dunkirk, which is interesting because this is the thing. On the surface, Dunkirk, because obviously it's telling the story of in 1940, um, the of how these all these British soldiers were stranded, obviously on the beaches, and they got rescued, obviously, and whatnot. But it was sorry, brain fog. But yeah, like obviously, it seems like a kind of just a generic historical biographical war film and whatnot. But it does have a Nolan element because he's playing around with time and whatnot. Because obviously the events of Dunkirk happened over like about a week and whatnot. But you see it sort of cross cut between the action on the ground, on the beaches and whatnot, the stuff on the boat where Mark Rylance is this like sort of sailor who's trying to get his boat over there, which takes place in like about a day. And then you get Tom Hardy as an RAF pilot who his story takes place in like an hour, you know. And it's seeing how throughout all these different windows of time, they're all trying to get to the same goal of rescuing all these soldiers and whatnot. But it's yeah, I say like on the surface it might not seem very Nolan-y, but it ultimately is when you get down to it. But even as like a historical drama, it's great. I love it's visually fantastic. There's some fantastic shots. Like there's one of them. Actually, funny enough, it's the letterbox. It's the letterbox picture, but it's that shot of Film Whitehead on the beach as the explosions are going off in the background. That's a brilliant shot.
Well, I'm sure there were a
There's so
lot
many
of
great
shots given that it was a war film.
shots fired. But there's
Bad
another
joke,
great
I
shot
know.
towards the end. I appreciate it. But there's another one of Tom Hardy watching his plane burning and whatnot. That's a great shot. Production design, all that sort of stuff, the costumes, it's all great stuff. And it's not a very emotion-driven film for the most part because it's more of an ensemble piece. And by its nature, that's the thing, because obviously war is a team effort. It's not one person comes in and saves the day. You focus on a lot of different characters, and you don't really get emotional towards them, except maybe Mark Rylance, because I thought with him and Cillian Murphy as a soldier, the clash that they had was quite compelling. But it's not a very character-driven film, and that's why I think maybe it's not stuck with people as much because his other films, whether it's Cooper in Interstellar, Cobb in Inception, Batman and Joker, Oppenheimer. They have these central characters, Lenny and Memento. They have these characters that you can really get invested in. Dunkirk doesn't really have that, but it does. It still tells a compelling story, and I think maybe just because of like the real life event, but the ending when the soldiers get home and they're all celebrated of getting returning home, and you have Churchill's one of Churchill's speeches playing over it, as it's being like read in the paper by Harry Styles' character, which is weird that he's in this film. But yeah, I can't lie, that
Pause. Hold
is
up.
very heartfelt.
Sorry. Who's in this
Oh yeah,
film?
Harry
Harry
Styles is also
Styles
in
is
this
in the
film.
film. That
Yeah,
is just
he's
seemed
also in this
really
film.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I just threw that in. Yeah, yeah.
That was such a
But no,
whiplash. I was like, hang on, wait a
what
sec.
are we talking about? Yeah, but no,
Did we
overall,
start
like,
talking about a
is
different film for a moment?
we might have done, but yeah, Dunkirk is a really solid film. I just wanted to give it a bit of attention because it doesn't tend to get lumped in with a lot of other Nolan films.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
anyway, your
I
oh
remember
sorry,
it coming out. I remember it coming
yeah,
out back in 2017. But it is one that I don't hear that many people talk of unless you specifically say, "Oh, hey guys, war films." Like, unless you bring up war
yeah,
films, it might come up, but not usually
maybe it
before the
doesn't.
likes of like 1917 or something.
No,
But
or even even some of the classics like Apocalypse Now, Saving Private Ryan,
Paths of
Full
Glory,
Metal Jacket, Pass the Glory, yeah, Pass the
yeah.
Glory, yeah.
Like, it's not
Um,
one that naturally comes up, but it more often comes up if I ask someone about war films than if I ask them about like Nolan. But
it's yeah, it's quite interesting that.
it's
But
one that's kind of like, yeah, people don't talk about it that much. It's never been one that
yeah.
overly interested me at the time because I wasn't really big into war movies. I'm still not, it's still not like my favorite genre or
Yeah,
anything.
for me, I also quite like that kind of era of like British history, that kind of World War II, 1940s. I like that aesthetic as well, so I
Yeah.
get a bit out of that. Yeah, I quite like that.
Anyway, on to my third one.
Great.
So a while ago, I watched a couple of Nolan films. I remember messaging you as I was watching them and saying, "This is what I'm
Yeah,
watching now. Here's my thoughts afterwards. Here's what I'm watching now. Oh my gosh, this movie was absolutely amazing. I want to talk about it next chance we get." And so you knew this was coming, so we didn't double book it. And I said to you,
this is cut.
as soon as you said we were doing Nolan, I said to you, I'm calling dibs on this one.
Honestly, this is kind of the reason why I wanted to because I was like, I know how much you want to talk about this movie in depth. So,
I want to talk about The Prestige.
which is not the obvious pick for Nolan. It's
No,
not. Again, it's a bit of an underrated one because it's sandwiched in between the first two Batman films he did. And it's kind of bit, I would say Dark Knight and Inception is when he really took off as a filmmaker. But I think some of his films beforehand are a bit either completely unknown or more kind of cult favorites. And I think Prestige is a cult favorite.
it's like, so I was saying to you, initially I watched it the day after I watched it, Inception.
Inception. Yeah,
And I vastly preferred The Prestige.
I respect that. I
I
really
mean, I
respect
thought
that.
Inception was pretty good, but as I was just saying to you before we came back on this call, I thought it was really good, but I also thought that it didn't live up to the insane amount of hype
A
that
little,
people give it for me.
it is admittedly a bit overhyped, I think. I mean, as much as I adore it, like I understand that, there is that expectation sky high. But the Prestige doesn't really have that. So you kind of go into it, you know,
But yeah, Prestige
kind of
was
blind.
something else. I didn't know much about it. I mean, even if you look at the IMDb summary, which I've gotten up here now, it's so brief. Rival
Yeah,
19th century magicians engage in a bitter battle for trade secrets. It tells you enough to get you interested, but it doesn't tell you much.
it doesn't know.
And man, this movie's insane. I mean, look, the cast is stacked. You've got Christian Bale, Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman, Scarlett Johansson, Michael Caine. It just
And David
David Bowie as
Bowie as
Tesla.
Nikola Tesla.
Andy Serkis is in this as well. You got
Yeah.
loads of big names in this thing, and it was just you never knew where it was going to go. It takes a little bit to
Mhm.
set up, but once it
Yeah.
sets up essentially what is the game of it of between Alfred and Robert, which of
Hugh
the
Jackman and Christian Bale.
yes, Christian Bale plays Alfred Borden and Hugh Jackman plays Robert Angier. And it once it sets up the game between them of who's going to become like the bigger magician, who's going to one up each other after they start kind of like sabotaging each other, who's going to get the other's trade secrets and everything. It becomes this really kind of captivating game of who's kind of going to get the last laugh here. Who's going to be the
It's
one who
basic.
wins this kind of little feud going on?
It's basically like a kind of prank war, essentially. Like
Literally.
it's treat. It's kind of that, and there is a kind of humor to that. I think
So even when it gets down to the
in a
point
weird,
of
twisted way.
like
There's kind of humor to that.
I think it was Hugh Jackman's character gets like Christian Bale's character's notebook, and by the end of it, he realizes the whole thing's kind of just trolling him, and it's not the
Yeah,
actual secrets. And it's just that
yeah,
it's a little bit like a prank war, but with magicians, and to such an
yeah.
extent. And then
And I think there is. Sorry.
it gets to a point where like Hugh Jackman like he starts wanting to figure out how to do like science into the magic and working with Tesla to try and make an even more spectacular version of Bale's trick. And it's
It's like
just
trying to one up.
it's
It's
the
that
one-upmanship,
one-upmanship. Yeah.
but it's so well told, and you never know who's gonna kind of get the
Mhm.
final laugh. And then like the ending where you do find out who kind of gets the last laugh, you're amazed at how he's done it.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's the
You're
most
a
insane magic trick of all.
I think on that point, I think there is something to it where and I suppose it's kind of like a meta element. Obviously, it's about because they break it down because Michael Caine's character he breaks down like the three acts of a magic trick. You know,
Yes.
he breaks that down, and that's basically what filmmaking is. It is like putting on a magic trick. You know, you
Yeah.
edit these moving pictures together into this, and it's like, how do you do it? You know, and narratively, you can do that as well. You can make magic
Plot
like that.
twists are
You know,
magic. You
yeah,
plot twists.
yeah,
You plant the seeds partway through and you show them certain things, and then you
yeah,
pull
and
out
then
this twist
you,
I know, and you're like, how did they do it? And then
yeah,
you look back
yeah,
and all
you
the
are like,
clues were there, and you're like, oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I like that meta element of that of the film because it is like because Nolan is kind of like a magician in a way. He is like making these magic tricks with these films.
Yeah.
But you also brought me on to when you were mentioning obviously they're kind of trying to one up each other. There's that thing, obviously there is a humor to it with how basically it's just a prank war, but there is also it's not like a comedy ultimately because it's how far they go with it that it is like these are really sad characters you know, they're really bitter, they're really
Yeah.
jealous and spite driven, and they're really trying to get at each other through really seedy ways. And also the kind of one-upmanship, obviously, um, what's his face, Hugh Jackman, Robert, yeah, trying to team up with Tesla to make an even bigger magic trick. It's almost like a drug. It's like it's getting that next high. It's trying to top it, and it's like
Mm.
eventually it will come crumbling down. And I think there's just something, that kind of thing of obsession, how unhealthy it is. I think there's
Yeah.
something interesting about that.
Yeah, it's just a prank, bro. Gets the guy's two fingers chopped off. Just a prank.
Well, no,
Harmless
yeah,
prank.
I say it blends humor and darkness brilliantly in that way.
But just
Um,
there was something about watching that just like I remember I'm gonna see if I can find the messages, but I can remember like messaging you afterwards and being like, this was amazing. This was one of the best
yeah,
movies I've seen all year. Like
yeah.
this
Didn't you
was
like
top
you were
tier
like
stuff.
you were like it could have been at the top of my ranking for the year or something.
At that point, yeah. I just searched up Prestige and I've got a text here saying whenever we end up doing Nolan films, I'm bagging Prestige.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah,
calling
yeah.
dibs on this for ages.
You have yeah.
Yeah,
I knew you wanted to talk about this one
at
for a
that point
while.
it was my 39th movie of the year and I said it was quite possibly number one.
Hmm. Is it number one still, or is K-pop Demon Hunter started
Oh
it?
no. It's gonna be
Hey,
a tough one
listen,
this year. It's gonna be a tough one this year. It's between
listen.
there's a
You've
critically
always
acclaimed director and this K-pop film.
listen, listen. You've always had these inside jokes that you keep reoccurring in an episode to me. I can do it to you.
Oh man, I'm not escaping this. This is
You're not. You
payback for
really.
this is payback for the Inside Out 2 ranking with Ricky Staniki. This is payback for Ricky.
It's K-pop either. That's the funny thing. Um, but no, Prestige is bloody amazing, and it was funny enough. It was actually the first Nolan film I watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, and again, I was like, whoa! I was again like you. I was astounded by it, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh
And
yeah,
but
I
we're all,
definitely I want to watch it again at some point, but I want to watch it with someone who hasn't seen it because I want to see someone else react
yeah,
to it.
that's yeah.
Yeah,
That's
man, it
the
was
cool
so
thing of
good.
like me see. That's the cool thing of like me seeing you watch these films and like for the first time, and it's like it's great. But yeah, those that's half of Nolan's career talked about in this video.
Yeah, in the space of like what 45, 50 minutes, that's good going. Allow for a
Brilliant,
little bit
brilliant.
of random bullshit in between with Ice Cube and K-pop, but sure.
Oh,
So if we condense it
fucking
down,
hell.
we've discussed half of his filmography in like 45, 40 minutes, you know.
Basically, yeah.
It's good going.
But I really enjoyed this part because I was kind of, part of me was a bit nervous of like, are we gonna have enough to say? 'Cause it's like Dark Knight, everyone fucking knows why it's so great.
Exactly,
Interstellar,
everyone
everyone knows why it's so great.
knows.
But I think as I say, these films, Nolan is a real pioneer of the 21st century in terms of cinema. And I think the impact that his films have had on us, it's so unique. And I think just seeing the very interesting, just like directions that I didn't really expect it to go. A bit like
Mm.
most of films, really.
I mean, it's like we were talking briefly in between takes here about like why I wanted to choose like Interstellar, and I think it was important to talk about the impact it had and to sell it on the way it's resonated
Stuck with you.
over this long and how it stuck this
Yeah.
long. Sell it on that rather than just saying it's a good movie because of course it's gonna be a good movie. It's a Nolan film.
Yeah.
Of course it's gonna be
Yeah.
good. But
I
maybe I
mean, you
can't
say that.
maybe I
I mean,
can't sell you a movie on astronauts go to space to find a new planet. But I could sell it to you on this movie stuck with me for 11 years after
mhm.
one watch when I was 10.
I was going to say you do say that it's a Nolan, so it's going to be good, but Tenet exists.
Yeah, I
So
didn't see that one, but I've heard mixed things.
even my grandparents didn't like it when they
But to
caught it
be
on
fair,
TV.
no one's got a flawless track record. Everyone's got one
Nah.
movie at least
Yeah.
that's down
Yeah.
there. Everyone,
Yeah.
you can't hit 10 out of 10 every time.
Nah. But yeah, but no, I really enjoyed talking about these Nolan films,
Yeah, it was
and
good
yeah,
stuff.
and I'd be interested to see what you make of some stuff like Memento, for example, if you when you check that out,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
and even and
definitely.
even and even if you check out like Following, that'd be really interesting to see
Yeah.
just what you'd make of that, like but but yeah, and I get that this is the part where we now open it up to all you. What do you think of any of these Nolan films? What are some of your favorite Nolan films, even if it's one that we've talked about, if it's one we haven't talked about? If it is Tenet, you know what? Fair play, because I'm
But
glad
please
someone
tell us
enjoys it.
why. Please tell us why.
Yeah.
Don't
Like
feel like
genuinely,
you can't say like every reason why. Like we want long
yeah,
comments. We like reading long
yeah.
comments.
Like I know I'm taking the piss with Tenet, but like genuinely, if it is your favorite Nolan film, fucking fair play to you, and that's awesome. But as I said, like, what do you think of those? What do you think of Weapons? If you've seen it, what are your takes from that film? Any other, recent films that you've seen, and let us know because there's been a fair bit that's come out recently that's kind of caught my eye, but just haven't had the chance to catch everything. But yeah, and also, watching films that, not relevant to this, but just watching all the films that are great. I mean, I watched like Good Will Hunting for the first time the other week. Fucking loved it, burst into tears watching that stuff. It's absolutely heartbreaking, that film is. But yeah, just getting around to like some classics and whatnot, and Elvis movies. Still,
Yeah.
still on the Elvis movie train.
But yeah, let us know in the comments, what have you been watching? What have you enjoyed from
Yeah,
this episode? What from this episode have you also watched? Just tell us everything. We just love
yeah,
interacting with you. We love the connection with
yeah,
the audience and
yeah.
everything. But don't forget to
I
like,
love that.
comment,
Yeah,
subscribe, etc. You can catch us on Spotify as well if you're not already listening on Spotify, as well as YouTube. And yeah, well, I mean, we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully, we'll cook up something good again. Like, these episodes are consistently we're consistently getting like the same kind of quality in episodes now, so I'm sure we'll
yeah.
cook something up good next episode as well.
We'll have something sorted by next time. We don't quite know yet, but
War
well,
of the Worlds 2025.
no, 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 we're not. We're
No,
not doing that.
no,
No.
no. Can we low-key do K-pop Demon Hunters though? I know it's been out for a while now, but
Yeah.
please, can we
Yeah,
do
War of the
that?
Worlds. War of the Worlds is so bad it broke my glasses.
That is actually insane. I can't believe that happened.
Then
Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching everyone. Sub to Danny as well on his channel.
sub up.
Sub up,
Sub up. What are you on about?
yeah, subscribe.
Do that, yeah. Do
Yeah,
that.
sub up.
And we'll see you. We'll see you next
In the
time.
next time. Yeah, thanks for
Take care.
watching. Bye bye.
Bye.